Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Calvin Tobin Show. I am your host, Calvin Tobin. Today we have a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. Alright, last night was Halloween and we had a bunch of scary performances that we could have watched. We had Ja Morant, KD, and Paul George all dropped 35 plus points. Paul George also dropped a game winner, and Buffalo Sabres forward Tage Thompson dropped a 6-point game in a huge victory over the Detroit Red Wings, winning 8-3. And we had Nick Chubb and Amari Cooper both get 100 yards from scrimmage against the Cincinnati Bengals. So, last night we had Utah versus Memphis in a game that we all thought that Memphis would win, right? Nope. As of right now, Utah is much better than we all anticipated, and last night they were able to pull off the victory 121-105. But the reason of that is because Memphis wasn't fully healthy. Desmond Bane was out with a sore right ankle, and Ja Morant could have been out because he was feeling sick, but he still ends up dropping 37, which just goes to show how scary Ja Morant truly is. But other than that, Utah, they have got their stuff together. We all thought that this organization would be in shambles all year long because they lost their big core, big three in Snyder, Mitchell, and Gobert. But as of right now, it is a completely different story, and the guy to watch is Lauri Markkanen for Utah, because this dude is the leading scorer for Utah. And he, right now, is in the lead for most improved player because from last year to this year, he improved his game, his scoring game by 7 points. He went from 15 to 22. And his stat line was 31 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 blocks on 73% shooting. Markkanen has got a shot and is consistent with his shots. And that's what the key was, and for the Utah Jazz's performance was those consistent shots. And because of that, their all-around performance was flowing like water. Consistent shots were falling. You had constant turnovers, and of those 15 turnovers that the Utah defense committed, 10 of them were steals. And with Markkanen, he did get 4 blocks, but that was a majority of what Utah got as a whole because they got 6 blocks in totality. Markkanen is a player to watch right now because he is surprising all of us with what he has done with Utah. And because of Utah's shocking performance throughout the season, they are now 6-2, and they are tied for the most wins in the NBA right now at 6 with Milwaukee. So how good is Utah really? Well, winning on Halloween is sweet, but it's even sweeter when it's on Monday Night Football and you do it in your own home stadium, and that's what the Cleveland Browns did against the Cincinnati Bengals. The performance of this game was completely one-sided, and you can't really blame Joe Burrow because he can only do so much with what he's got and what's going on with Cincinnati right now. For one, he didn't have his best friend in Ja'Marr Chase, as he is suffering from a hip injury and he is now going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. So that Bengals offense is going to look drastically different, and their performance is going to be drastically different on what they're able to do. But other than that, Joe Burrow, in this game, he really couldn't get anything going, not because of his receiving core, because he's got Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. Those guys can back up Ja'Marr Chase when he's gone well enough. The huge issue with Cincinnati, and no true football fan or anybody that really knows football can never stress this enough about Cincinnati. Get the dude his protection, or this dude is going to be he's going to be Andrew Luck 2.0, and it might be quicker because this dude already tore his ACL within the first few games of his career, and now he's going into his third year, and 8 games in, now he's been sacked 29 times. That's 3.6 sacks per game. I mean, get this dude protection. This dude can get you to a Super Bowl. He proved it last year on one of the most heroic performances for an all-around season of what Joe Burrow did. If you get this dude protection, they are going to be a consistent playoff team for years to come. And that's for anyone who has a good quarterback. But if you don't have an offensive line, you are going to lose so much, and you're going to lose your star quarterback because eventually he can only take so many hits and he's out for the rest of his career or season or game, whatever the situation is. But with Cleveland, their performance was completely dominated with them controlling the clock, and that's how they were able to move their pace throughout the game. They controlled the clock for 37 minutes of this game, and Nick Chubb and Amari Cooper were the complete stars of this game because of that is Nick Chubb's 101-yard rushing performance and Amari Cooper's 132-yard performance. That combined for 234 of 440 total yards that Cleveland produced, which is 43% of that offense, which is absolutely crazy for that game. But they're also doing this with Jacoby Brissett. Imagine with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is a ridiculously talented quarterback. He is going to get Cleveland, I might say it, might be a ballsy thing to say, but if Deshaun Watson stays in Cleveland, he will get them to a Super Bowl or an AFC championship. He will get them that far. He got Houston to the playoffs. Who does that? Like, nobody else gets the Texans to the playoffs other than Deshaun. He will do the same thing with Cleveland, and then all uphill from there. But he's got a couple more games to go before his suspension is completely up. But all in all, the Cleveland Browns ended up putting the Cincinnati Bengals into their grave, winning 32-13. But another team that got put in their grave was the Washington Capitals, but this game was wire to wire the entire time, and this game was a complete bloodbath. Non-stop penalties, numerous amounts of ferocious hits, and too many blocks to count, and that was pretty much that entire game. But before I get into the game, the Canes, for this game, they're looking to get the top spot in the Metropolitan Division, and they're behind the New Jersey Devils by 1 point. And if they win this game, they're in the lead by 1 point. And what happened in this game was Washington, they were able to push the Carolina Hurricanes around, but they couldn't reciprocate it back when it came to scoring. Because in this game, the Carolina Hurricanes started off quick with a 1-0 lead by Stefan Noesen, and until the end of the second period, that's when the game was tied up. Because in that second period, that's where everything in the majority of the game happened. Like, you had constant penalties. Like, every other 5 minutes, there was someone committing a penalty. There was 28 penalties committed in this game. There was also 27 blocks in this game, and the hits were just unbelievably crazy. But the Canes, they were able to get back into this game to tie it up at 2 apiece because of those penalties that Washington was committing. Because Washington committed the most penalties in this game. They committed 8 penalties for 16 minutes, and because of the amount of penalties that they committed, that's what got them to lose this game. If they just held it back a little bit, I'm not dissing that Carolina made a lot of penalties too, but the Capitals, it was just too much. You can't be committing 8 to 10 penalties a game and expect to win, even if it's a close game, because the penalties are the biggest difference maker in some games. But other than that, the Canes were able to come out with this victory, winning the game 3-2. But here's the thing: out of all the performances that you could have watched last night, the best and scariest performance for Halloween was Buffalo's forward Tage Thompson, scoring 6 points in that game. The score was 8-3, and 6 of those goals were because of Tage Thompson. He got 3 goals and 3 assists, and it's by far performance of the year in hockey. And that's going to be very hard to beat. Maybe 4-2, 5-1, but just getting 6 points in general is just hard to get. And Tage Thompson already did that before 10 games even happened, before everybody gets to their 10th game. Absolutely nuts. Alright, that's the end of the Calvin Tobin Show. Please subscribe to my channel at Calvin Tobin Show so you don't miss out on any sports news whatsoever. And please follow me on Instagram at Calvin Tobin Show so you don't miss out on any sports media whatsoever.